raised 8 kids across 6 states and 2 countries, and somehow turned spilled honey, sibling showdowns, and graduation day heartbreak into wisdom that makes moms laugh instead of cry. It's Renee Thomas Hackley, return guest, and she is the author of Once Upon an Amateur Mom, which is a book that captures the beautiful chaos of motherhood with humor, honesty, and heart, reminding every overwhelmed mom that joy is still hiding in the mess. And she has a new exciting book that's coming out. And she also has been on the show previously, and she shared all kinds of fun stories about folding laundry for a family of 10, talking about her 3 little word directives like brush your teeth, make your bed, pick it up, no more cookies. And her books offer lighthearted encouragement, helping mothers step back and seeing the bigger picture. She has these guiding principles that she lives by and so much more. She learned a lot, and we can learn a lot from her. So Renee Hackley, glad to have you back.
Thank you very much, Robert. I'm glad to be here. That's quite a list of things that you have there, and some of them are kind of a stretch, but I'm doing my best at a very difficult task of being a mom, and yet it is the most happy task as well.
Very nice. So there's big expectations, but also big rewards. And like moms are expected to do everything. And it seems like that's always been the case since the beginning of time and still the case today. And so having said all that, what's currently on your mind? What's changed recently? What's in your news?
Well, I don't know that very much has changed. I do live alone now because my husband passed away in 2004. And so it's just, I just go to my kids' houses and watch them as they're being the parents. And then they come to my house and we just have a good time and hopefully celebrate. Last week, or well, it was maybe even just a couple of days ago, I went to my daughter Jeanette's house, or actually she and her daughter Lily came and said, "Mom, come to our house. It's Valentine's Day. We have something for you." And I wasn't expecting a Valentine's gift, but once we reached their house, they had this pizza that they had purchased that was in the shape of a Valentine with the pepperoni, and it smelled so good, and it was wonderful. But I was thinking, how are we going to make this pizza spread over their family, because they have 5 in their family, and then plus me. And then I realized, oh, they bought the Valentine's pizza at a different store. And then when we got to their house, Brandon, the father, had purchased another couple of pizzas from another shop, because we have one of our kids, one of their children has allergies. So, of course, we had to have one pizza completed for him so that he could eat, and then the rest of us. But isn't that the way that families go? You have to just make it good for everyone, and sometimes that involves some conflict and some running around and trying to just get it done. And this case, it was my daughter who is always right on top of things and able to plan. And I remember those days when I had to do the same thing, and now I don't have to make all of those plans, but she does, and she does a wonderful job. I'm very proud of her.
So you get the benefits of the planning without all the work. It's almost like, say you were like a theater actor or a musician or something, right? Say you always practiced a musical instrument and it was rewarding, but so much work. And then you retired, and then you could go to a musical concert and appreciate all the work they did, and you get the enjoyment, but then you can also kind of look back fondly and say oh yeah, I remember the hard work. And in your case, the scheduling, the planning, the attention, making sure everyone's taken care of, and say, well, maybe in the moment it was tough to appreciate it because I had to make sure to do everything, but then you look back and you say, oh, like that those were some nice memories, and you can kind of like relive them a little bit by seeing someone else take care of you in a way.
That is exactly true, what you've just outlined for us. And it's just never finished, even today, or when my daughter and her daughter came to pick me up. It's still a mothering, my daughter being the mother, and her reaching out to her mother and helping me to uh, appreciate a Valentine's gift that I wasn't expecting, or I wasn't prepared for. And it was wonderful just to be with their family and to watch them, go through their little things that are happening with their teenagers and this and that. It's just delightful.
Well, it hurts your brain in a good way, doesn't it? Kind of seeing the roles filled in different ways. Like I think about like, I had grandparents growing up, and they've all died of old age, but then now my mom is a grandma to my son, and then when I get older, like I'll be a grandparent. So we all kind of transition out of one role and into another, and then many times we see how it's done, and we say, oh, like that's a thoughtful thing to do, right? The Valentine's pizza, and just inviting someone over for Valentine's, and there's like a little bit of a ripple effect, isn't it? Because you get ideas of like for parties or thoughtfulness or just acts of love, and you say, well, hey, I can help out someone else's life. I can make someone else in my family happy just because I saw this little act of kindness done to me, or that I saw with this other son or daughter in my family. I can apply it over here too. I can kind of steal their idea.
Exactly. And it just reminds me of what happened to me this morning when I woke up and realized at my house that I didn't think I was going to be able to do um, uh, all of the things that need to be done to set up this podcast, because
Yeah.
I'm not good with this kind of stuff. But then I thought, oh, my son-in-law Brandon, I bet you if I take this to him, he's just very good at all of this. And but I didn't even ask him. I just put my stuff in the car and came to his office, and sure enough, he was able to help me and set it up, and um, and he was happy to do it, even though it's in the middle of his workday, and it just goes on and on. And then at some point today, I might be able to help him with something.
Mm. So do you think there's like the lesson in there is maybe like how it's important to be able to ask for help and to provide help, because like what you say there about maybe, well, you can't make the podcast work and you have to go over there. I know like maybe when I was a kid or immature, I would have just said like, oh, I can't do it, or like I'll cancel my podcast. But then here, if you're a more mature adult, you say, hey, well, I've got this minor problem to be solved, and maybe I can go over to son-in-law and he can help. And same with son-in-law, he's got things to do, but he says, hey, I can take a few minutes out of my day to help mother-in-law and get her set up and go back to my thing, and everybody wins. So have you ever like thought about that, or have you gone through any kind of like a maturing of sorts as far as just like dealing with life's unexpectedness?
I think that is the lesson that I'm learning now, because at age 79, I need help sometimes. I I do. And I have to just suck it up and realize that um, I I can call my children. I can text my children. I can, when I'm sad or happy or whatever emotion I'm going through, I have people that I can go to and they can help me. They can mother me because I am the mother, but they're now the mother to me in many
Yeah.
respects. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It's become a two-way street. And do you think, is there anything that you think that you've done right in your family? Because some families hate each other, toxic relationship, drama. So what do you think maybe we can learn about how well your family gets along?
Well, I wouldn't say that we always get along all the time because that would be that's not really possible with because when you have more than one children, you realize that every single one of your children is very, very different from every other single one of your children. No matter you came from the same parents, you you were raised in the same house with the same values that we were trying to instill. But every single child is very, very different from every other single child. And that's something that I've definitely learned along the way is they all make their own choices and then they have to learn from those choices and hopefully take some of the teachings that we tried to teach them. But even the parents, we're not perfect. No parent is perfect either.
Hmm.
So there are mistakes everywhere, and you just have to learn from those and move forward.
Well, very nice. Well, is there anything that you think you might want to unpack about either your kids or grandkids, like uniqueness or quirks? Is there anything about the personalities where maybe do you feel like singling out anyone here?
So that doesn't, nothing comes to my mind that way, um, except just to know that when we do get together, we do get along, but we don't get together very often because they live in different states. They have different jobs. They can't get away at certain times. So we're just happy, or I'm just happy when they do have a chance to come see me or when they text me. And isn't it wonderful, all of the things that we can just do on our phones? And if somebody's having a problem or they want to share something um, with me, then they can just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, like cell phones and technology get a bad reputation because it can be misused, it can be a distraction, it can be something that takes you away from your family. But if the family is separated across multiple states, families all the time have the group chats, right? So like the little baby took his first steps, you post it one place, everyone sees it instantly, or the group video calls, or like you said, the one-on-one text for help. So it's like what you make of it, right? You can use the tool for bad or for good. And it's an amazing time we live in as long as we look for the good, look for that optimism. And I know that you have this book that we talked about last time that is on Amazon and it's called Once Upon an Amateur Mom. But my understanding is that you're working on a sequel. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. The sequel, the title of the book is going to be Amateur Moms Happily Ever After. So I'm going to follow up the first book in just different things that happened in our family. Um, and the Happily Ever After is kind of a tongue in cheek because happily ever after in a home with parents and all those different people, it's not always happy all the
Sure.
time.
Sure.
It's just one thing after another that we deal with and that we get along and we appreciate and then we scold people, and then we cry sometimes, and we laugh sometimes, and we just pull our hair out sometimes. But for me, looking back, and even now, it's where I am happiest when I'm around my family. I'm happiest when I'm with one of my children or more, whoever shows up. That's just like the pizza pie that was made into a heart. Well, the particular pizza pie that my daughter bought, none of us ate it, or only one person ate that one because he's the one who has the allergies. So, but the other pizzas, then we could eat. It's kind of like life. Everyone is different, so everyone needs to have even different rules. I noticed with my teenagers, some of the teenagers had to have different rules than others of the teenagers who were a little more responsible. And that's just the way it goes. And when they would say, how come so and so gets to blah, 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 and I don't get to do it? Well, then I would have to be honest with them and say, because this is what happened last time. And that can't happen again. So you need to have different rules for a while.
Yeah, that's a harsh reality, right? That life is not fair and the parenting rules aren't fair, and you might have an 8-year-old who can't even be alone at home versus a 17-year-old who might be able to go and drive the car wherever they want within reason. So there's like those different rules based on age or how maybe one kid's a little more wild than the other and might screw up, and so there's a lot to navigate. And so you mentioned about how you say you're 79 years old and you have this book Amateur Moms Happily Ever After. And because you've seen so much and there's so many transitions, like it has me curious about the empty nesting. Like when your kids kind of got to that age, like 17, 18, 19, you always hear about how difficult that is, like them, going off into the world and letting them make their own mistakes. So was that tough for you when your babies became adults?
I don't remember it being tough. Uh, I I I remember what I struggle with is being a widow and not having my husband. Then, and I look around and some of my friends, or a lot of my friends, still have their husbands, and I get a little bit like, well, blah blah blah. I'm I'm upset that 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 I didn't have that, that I don't have that. But still, I do have so many memories, and many of the stories that I tell in my books and just in my life, they all come back to um, the relationship that I had and that I still have with my husband, Dan Hawkley, and that's never going to change.
Yeah, that's
I
magical. That
don't know how to state it, but it's never going to change.
even though it's been 22 years, there was still that dynamic. You still have the memories. There's still what would he do in this situation? Or yeah, there's still a lot there. And so you mentioned about stories, and so in this upcoming book, you have Amateur Moms Happily Ever After. Is there an interesting story within that is worth mentioning that might get us excited to go check out the book once it's live?
Oh, good. Well, I can do, yes, I'll do this. This one's called Just Don't Act Like a Mother. Recently, my teenage boys paid me the ultimate compliment of allowing me to go shopping with them. There were conditions. I had to bring my purse, the one with the checkbook. One of them said, if you come, you can't act like a mother. What do you mean by that? I asked. Don't touch us, one of them offered. Yeah, piped in the second. And don't talk like you love us or tell us to stand up straight or that. Just don't look at us, the third added. Okay, I said, let me get this straight. I can come if I don't touch you, talk to you, or look at you. That's pretty much it, they agreed. Well, who could turn down an offer like that? So off we went to the mall in search of PE sweats and a couple of pairs of shoes. If I may take the opportunity to boast, I behaved myself to perfection. Eyes straight ahead, mouth shut, hands to myself, the perfect example of apathy. A few a few educated shoppers may have guessed that I was the mother of these dudes by virtue of having teenagers of their own, but they didn't get any hints from me. We bought what we came for and then split up to do some independent browsing. The boys went to Pedersen's, a sporting goods store, and I headed for a sale at Just Petite's, my favorite clothing shop. What does petite mean? The youngest one asked. Short, said one of his older brothers. It's a shop for short girls. Why don't they call it just short? Asked the first. I shook my head, rolled my eyes, and agreed to meet them at Pedersen's in 30 minutes. 20 minutes later, they had come back to find me at Just Petite's. Mom, what's taking so long? We want to show you something, said one. Mom, come on, somebody might see us in here, said another. All right, I'm coming, I said. In Pedersen's, they directed me to the object of their affection, a hot pink snowboard. They looked me straight in the eyes and asked, Isn't it great, Mom? You're looking at me, I said. People might get ideas. Come off it, Mother, another one said as he grabbed my arm and pulled me in the direction of the skateboards. You gotta see this rad board. You're touching me, I reminded him. What if someone thinks we're related? Mom, get real. This is important. The other boy called me from the ski department, loud enough for everyone in the store to hear. Mom, come look at these skis. They're the best. Not so loud, I said as I sauntered over to the ski department. And don't call me Mom in public. It's embarrassing. On the way to the car, I asked them if I had passed the test well enough to be invited to go shopping again. Sure, Mom, they agreed. Except you acted a little strange in Pedersen's. What are you smiling for? One of them asked. You didn't tell me I couldn't smile, said I.
Very nice. Well, what I get from that is how important it is to be playful in life, right? And in any kind of relationships that you have, friendships, family, whatever, like kind of you don't take yourself too seriously and have a fun because you only have a limited amount of time and you don't know how much time is left. And so as we're getting near the end of our conversation here, I feel like I'm thinking about like my own mom. My mom is 72, I'm 41, and I have a 5-year-old son, and I'm always just looking for like how can I be a good son to my mother. Is there anything that you think is maybe missing in this day and age, or are there any reminders or just a quick tip or lesson about how we can be better to our moms?
Well, I can tell from just your mannerisms and your thoughts about your mother that you already honor your mother. Uh, I think mothers appreciate most just being invited and included, and I can't think of anything more in life that I would have wanted more than a family. That's the that's my bottom line of everything is like what is there that is in the world that it couldn't be money because money doesn't you don't take money with you when you leave this planet, but you do take your memories, your love of your children, all of the crazy things that happen. Some of them are not are not good, let's be frank, and you're sorry about something that may or may not have happened the way that you wanted it to go, because you're not God. You things are going to happen to you that are going to mix everything up and change things. The best thing that you can do is hold on to those you love and to always support them and help them when when you can. And sometimes you can't. You can't fix everything. Sometimes you can't fix anything, but you can still offer your love, your kindness, and the joy that you have in having those people close to you. And that's about all I can say, other than just realizing that it's an important thing, the most important thing that I will ever do in my life, and probably and many other people would say the same.
Oh, yeah. Beautifully said. So, from you saying this, I'm thinking, well, it's important to be careful and thoughtful and to be considerate and think of mom or grandma sometimes, right? Say, well, should she be included? And even a few months ago, we had back to school night with my son, and I thought, oh, well, should we bother grandma? And I was like, of course you'd like to show up. And she showed up for that sort of thing. So, reach out, keep the communication going with your family. And so that way you can continue the magic and the warmth and the happiness and have these similar stories, such as what Renee Hockley has shared in her existing book called Once Upon an Amateur Mom, and then the upcoming book, Amateur Moms Happily Ever After. You can find Renee Hockley on Amazon, and she also has a website. That's reneehockley.com. That's RENEEHAWKLEY.com. That's reneehockley.com. And in this book that we discussed before, but it's still out there and it's still great, Once Upon an Amateur Mom, most human endeavors have been thoroughly studied, acknowledged, and appreciated, like the fact that every person born on planet Earth is indebted to a mother and a father for the gift of life. But being the parent of human beings gets complicated, and that's why it's helpful to just see how others have done it. Get these ideas, hear these stories, read these books, get yourself educated. Knowledge is power, as they say. That's reneehockley.com, and Once Upon an Amateur Mom, and Amateur Moms Happily Ever After. And Renee, when I have these podcast discussions, I always like to end with some kind of like either a quote or a lesson from the person, just to get like one last little tidbit. So does anything come to mind for you about perhaps a quote or lesson that has served you in your life?
You ready? Do you have like about 1 minute?
Of course.
Or not? Okay, so this is called A Mother's Creed. I am a mother. I link humanity's past to its future. My moment in history is today. As a precious pearl in the strand of time, I add love and light and luster to the timeless thread of life that fastens me to generations past. My task is both common and noble. I share it with peasants and queens. I will not belittle my part, for I have a title role in the play of life. My words and deeds, though small, will one day eclipse those of governments and kingdoms. My achievement will endure when even time is a memory, for I am a mother. I link humanity's past to its future.
Wonderful. That is poetic. And so if someone says, where has Renee been all my life? I love what she says. I want more. I want to find out the books. What's the next step? Is what we mentioned okay, the website and find you on Amazon, or is there anywhere else to go?
I think that's the only places that I know of.
Okay, fair enough. So those places we mentioned, that's reneehockley.com, and you can click around and check out Renee's other podcast appearances and what she has to say. And then to get the real good stuff, to go to the source, get the book itself, go search Renee Hockley on Amazon, get Once Upon an Amateur Mom, plus the upcoming book, amateur moms happily ever after. So Miss Renee Hawkley, it's glad to see you again. You put me in such a great mood last time, and this time I need to go like text and call my mom right now, right after we're done with this podcast. So thanks for showing up again.
Oh, thank you so much, Robert. Thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure.